Hello folks from sunny Bulgaria. I'm standing here in the double shade of our big ash tree by the kids playground and the small wild plum sapling which I have shown you in previous videos, and I talked about its history. And in mid-March this year I showed you a quick video about grafting some very thin cyan wood, as thin as a toothpick, onto one of those branches here of this tree. So to quickly recap, this wild plum has stood the test of time. It has been destroyed multiple times and it regrew with nice vigor. So everything above that point is grafted, and each of those side branches is also grafted with different plums, damsons, and yellow plums which are now ripening, and then some other type which reach a bigger size and they're more delicious to eat while still not fully ripe. You can see some of the fruit which have been spared by the kids. I'm shooting here in late afternoon, so it's difficult lighting conditions, and due to the rains in previous week some of those split. But anyhow, let me now show you those very thin grafts which I did in mid-March. You can see here on this small branch I did a double cleft graft with two very thin cyan pieces, and it healed perfectly. The graft union is smooth. It has been calloused over. There's no gaps in the callus. Perfect V shape. I'm sorry for the defocus. And each of those two pieces of cyanwood developed a couple of buds, and each of those grew for maybe 30 centimeters. A bit overlapping, but I always try to play it safe and do some reserve grafts just for this, like this one, in case one of those fails or breaks or a bird lands on it or gets eaten. So it's better to have two overlapping in the first season and then do correction pruning in winter or next summer, instead of doing only one and losing it altogether. And even though this is not super high vigor compared to some of the other grafts I did, you have to keep in mind that those tiny little cyans were very thin, and I deliberately grafted here in the shade to be more sheltered, so it's not only shaded from the crown of the plum here but also from the ash, and it basically never gets direct light in, except in very early morning from that direction, which is northeast. And here as well I did a total of 6 grafts. So this is two, a cleft with 2 cyans, and 2 more clefts with 2 more cyans each. And you can see here that one of those, I'm hoping it would focus, one of those failed, but the other one grew very nicely. It developed 2 buds and it already has over 50 centimeters of growth. And now that we are nearing the end of July, I have to start pruning those in order to encourage this part of the wood to ripen quicker and to also probably develop some side shoots here. And similar for those two, I have to remove some of the branches and some of the foliage to promote more sideways development. And next year, I'll just step back a little. This grafted branch will remain the main part of the crown which goes in that direction. So all those upper branches from previous grafts will be cut to make space for this variety, which came from my late grandparents' garden, and I'm trying to save because the original mother tree is now dead as well, as my grandparents. So nothing complicated here. This is the original sign. Those are the two developed shoots, and I'll be trimming them to about 25 centimeters of length, facing outward, choosing an outward facing bud. So about here, just removing the tips, and similar with those little side shoots. You can see here that I have removed the grafting tape, and even here where one of the scions broke, probably by a windstorm or maybe a sparrow landed on it, it was pointing in that direction. Even though it broke, that part of the scion got calloused over, so there's no open wound here, and here as well. And up here at the very top, you will notice that there is this tiny microscopic gap between the scion and the rootstock. This is because I didn't prep properly. I didn't align the two barks very well, but it's not a problem because the lower part is calloused over very nicely, and in a couple of weeks, by the end of the summer at the most, this part will heal nicely as well. And lower here on the branch, you can see that there is this very slightly thickened part which leads to the main stem. This is where 5 years ago I grafted on this branch, and it healed so well that if I don't explicitly point to that spot, you won't be able to tell where the graft union is. So in effect, this is the wild rootstock. This is some type of some variety which I got from the village of cultivated plum, and I'm over grafting this variety from my grandparents' garden on top of the other cultivated variety, which is absolutely no problem because they're all very closely related types of plum. And those white spots here are places where I recently cut some side shoots just to keep this whole section clear of other growth, so it can focus on growing my tiny scions, and it worked very nicely. I'm very happy with that result, and I'm hoping that in year 25, or not next but the summer after the next, we'll be seeing some fruiting on those scions, and I'll be happy to have this heritage variety from my grandparents growing and preserved in my own garden as well. So that was all for today. I'm hoping you all have a peachy summer, and I'll see you soon.